Life is not a destination. It's a journey.
Why here?
It's all about getting a vision, getting a picture of what you're trying to do. It's kind of like GPS. If I'm not helping people, I feel guilty. I feel like something's wrong.
What are they going to learn?
How you do it, why you do it, and what to do. Everyone will take away different.
What's your productivity hack? Since you got the life switch, what's something that you would share with people that, hey, how do I get myself like, hey, I don't want to get up today and do this, right? Like, we're motivated guys, right? But not every day, right? Some days aren't as good as others. Like, so what's your hack?
You got to find your why.
Welcome to Built to Scale with Anthony Mongeluzo, and that's me. And I'm here with Joel Steele, a financial expert, advisor, book author, entrepreneur, and maybe someone, which we'll start off with, that could have went to jail. So maybe not the best intro, but I think the 3 out of 4 are a little better than that. So welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here. I'm excited. It's great to do this kind of interview when I'm not behind bars, not facing bankruptcy, my toes dangling in failure. I've had an interesting run. I think a lot of people have had an interesting life, sometimes many lives. And that's what I talk about in my book, is how I went from failure to finding success in all facets of my life, personal and professional.
And let's talk about the book, right? Life switch, right? So you had a life switch moment. Prior to just, starting this, you were giving me a little bit. I didn't want the whole thing because I wanted to be real when we talk about it. So, in your call it later teens, not necessarily adulthood, you got into a little bit of hot water. What was going on?
Well, it's terrible advice for parents, but to the kids out there, if you're going to get in trouble, do it before you're 18, because generally you can't get arrested. So I got caught up with some kids that were going down the wrong path, the wrong direction. And I just kind of lost myself. I became a follower, not a leader. And whatever they were doing, I wanted to be cool, went with the flow. And I think a lot of people do this. They either get on the right path and they ascend, or they get on the wrong path with the wrong people and their life can go downhill. And sometimes they can't turn it around and fix that. So I was going down the wrong path. I ultimately got caught by having stolen property in my vehicle. It was a felony because it was over $1,000 at the time. But because I was not 18, I didn't go to jail. But a big turning point for me was when I got scared straight. A cop took me into the Voorhees police station in New Jersey, and there was 3 cells in there, 3 jail cells. And he said, just totally deadpan, which one do you want? And I thought, oh my God, this isn't like, do you want to go to jail or not? This is, which cell do you want? Oh, well, there's no good option here. And that's what my life felt like. There were no good options.
Well, by the way, Voorhees was probably a pretty nice jail, considering inner cities and things like that. So you might have been in the country club there.
Yeah, I don't remember much about that except bars and just sort of cinder blocks, and thinking to myself, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And what do I do? But that moment scared me straight. That was kind of like a life switch moment where it was like, boom, you've got to do something different. And so I went from barely getting by as far as having my freedom, right? Having the ability to live a normal day, which most people out there have. I'm sure anyone listening today is not in jail, and you have that opportunity. You're free. You're fully capable to make your life what you want it to be. So that was sort of the jump off point. And then I started to find some success by doing some positive things, redirecting that negative energy into positive things, my grades, athletics, figuring out that I actually will have a future because I'm not going to jail. And I started to get to know myself a little bit, started to understand the capabilities that I had. I realized that I liked working hard. I realized that I can be super committed. And if I was passionate about something, there was no stopping me. But when you apply that in a positive way, I started to see these results. I started to realize, hey, I've been average or below average my whole life, but I actually can make things happen. I can do things. I can put in effort and I can see the rewards.
Or maybe above average at the wrong things.
Well, you're right. And so it's all about getting a vision, getting a picture of what you're trying to do. It's kind of like GPS. You're here, you're point A, and where's your point B? Where are you trying to go? A lot of people, including myself, don't have that point B. And many people don't even know where they are.
Yep.
So you think about it. You get in your car. If you're trying to get somewhere, you need to know where you're going exactly to make sure you're going to get there.
Yep.
And if you don't know where you are, remember the old GPSs, they had to calculate for like 20 minutes.
I was going to say the old GPSs, those called printing out directions on MapQuest when I started the business.
Those were the best when you had a detour, that unannounced detour.
And they missed the roads half the time. But to go kind of the past, so sharing this, a lot of people don't know this. I grew up in Philly, people know that, but I hung with a bad crew of guys. And, what I would say to anyone listening, watching, you are the company you keep. And, when you're trying to fit in, you're trying to be cool. We were doing some bad stuff in the city. I mean, we probably wouldn't have survived at this point. And, thankfully, there was an incident where, we stopped talking. And I feel like maybe we wouldn't be here talking today if I stayed with those folks. So maybe I had a life switch moment.
Yeah.
But you don't know any better. And, this is why we do these things, right? With this podcast, we're talking about entrepreneurship, success, failure, right? Because also failure leads to success. I don't think there's too many people. I'm sure there's someone out there that just had the perfect life, but not the 99% of everyone. So why don't you give us a little insight on this book now, Life Switch? And are you doing any book signings? I know we'll talk about some keynote speaking and things like that, but why don't you share, the book?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the whole premise of why I've done the book, why I've done what I've done in fitness, finance, all these things is I like to help people. Really, I love to help people. It's my passion. It's kind of like if I'm not helping people, I feel guilty. I feel like something's wrong. And that came from what we were just talking about, being a bad kid, a bad person, hurting people. And so ultimately, I wrote the book to give back. I've gone through so many things. I've gone through multiple layers and levels of failure. I found success in all different industries. And the most recent thing is becoming an author. And it's kind of like we climb a mountain, we start our businesses, we have success, but we're mountain climbers. You don't climb a mountain and stop climbing mountains. You look for the next mountain. So Life Switch was the next mountain for me. How can I give back in a way outside of Southern New Jersey, outside of a one-on-one meeting, and not just about fitness or finance, but just mindset, personal and professional growth? So I've done some book signings. There'll be a few more over the next several months. But speaking is really where I'm most alive. Being on a stage, being able to impact and inspire people around the country, it's just my favorite thing. And it's the kind of thing where my mom, who's my business partner, she's always like, you got to be doing this. Make sure you don't take time away from the office and don't forget about all these things. But she came to one of my talks recently. She said, I never really saw it before. But when you're on stage, you're alive, you're positive, you're infectious. It's amazing. You inspire me. And I'm, she's in her late 70s.
And she's your business partner?
My business partner. We've been business partners for 20 some years now.
Oh, wow.
But in the office, she sees me and sometimes I'm frustrated. Things aren't working out. And I try to explain it to her. It's almost like if I just keep doing what I'm doing, right? And the money's great, right? Yeah. That's fantastic, right? I know you talk with a lot of athletes. You don't play forever, partly because when you have enough money, it's all about who do I want to be when I grow up, right? What's next? What's the next chapter in my career? And of course, athletes can't play forever.
Well, time and gravity.
That too. But
we all get old.
But you hear about a lot of athletes who will retire, walk away from the game with years and a lot of money left on their contract. Why? Maybe the love for the game isn't there.
Look at Andrew Luck. I mean,
right.
They thought he had 7-8 years left. He would have made another $300-400 million in the NFL.
That's right.
But he prioritized his health and his family, which I don't think was a bad idea.
That's right. You've got Calvin Johnson retired young. Barry Sanders, of course, retired young. Maybe it's a Detroit thing.
Yeah. But the other thing, too, is let's talk a little finance real fast, right? So people look at these athletes, right? I was at the gym when they were showing the top 10 NFL contracts, right? $300 million, $500 million. What people don't realize, though, those athletes also got to pay their agents. Right. And you know what? The U.S. government should have a little flag there in the states they play in, because guess what? That $500 million contract, right? First world problems. If they see 250, right? 270, if they're smart, maybe with some structuring. So a lot of that money doesn't go to them.
True.
Which again, if you can't live off of that, which I think particularly the NBA seems to have the highest bankruptcy rate, but a lot of these sports guys, they get taken advantage of. MC Hammer, not a sports guy, but what do you have, a 50-person posse? And it's, how do you teach those guys the mindset?
Right. Well, it comes down to, for anybody, if you make $1 million and you spend $1 million in one, you've got problems. I have clients that make $50,000. They don't have millions of dollars. They don't even have $1 million in some cases, and they're doing great.
Yep.
And they're loving life. So money by itself is not how you want to keep score. You think about baseball, right? The World Series ended, Dodgers won again, whether you like that or not.
Yep.
And it didn't matter how many hits the Blue Jays or the Dodgers had. It mattered how many runs. Like that's how you keep score.
Scoreboard, P&L,
Right.
bottom line. The top line's cool. Bottom line matters.
Right. But when it comes to money, people keep score in life based on their money, whether their money's up or down, how much they have or don't have. And I don't believe that's the best way to keep score. It's about being fulfilled, being happy, feeling a sense of purpose. Do you have a sense of purpose?
Right.
And are you pursuing that? What are you passionate about? And so that to me is how you keep score, because ultimately, you know this, everyone knows this, but they forget life is not a destination. It's a journey. And part of that journey is you're with yourself the whole time. You need to and want to get to know yourself.
Yeah, like the person in the mirror.
You have to get to know that person. And if you love that person, fantastic. If you don't like certain things about yourself, the person you're looking at and looking back at you is the one who's going to change or fix that.
I'll give you something interesting, and I won't say his name, longtime friend of mine. He's never really made more than like $100,000 a year. And he's worth like $4 million with just discipline, good financial trading, putting the time in. I mean, he works the stock market. He looks at it, not that it's his job.
Right.
And so it goes to show you, like people say, oh, you need money to make money and all that. So give me in the audience some tips, right? 20 plus years, I believe, financial advising expertise. 20 years, right? So obviously the industry's changed. I feel like a lot of the stocks, I'm up on one stock right now, like 100+%. It's like, it's almost like a meme now. Like, if someone puts a tweet out or an X or whatever you want to call it, it could move markets, cryptocurrency. I mean, gold's obviously, even though it took a little hit, as of taping today, it's around 4,000. What's some advice you could give for maybe some of the younger folks, maybe the business owners that, want to do things with their cash, right? But they don't know what to do because there's so much noise.
Right. I think you want to layer it. So I would say this. Have some money safe. I think everyone needs a foundation.
Like cash.
Yeah, cash. And when you talk
or money market, baby.
Well, so let's talk about this foundation. So number one, I literally think that everyone should have some cash. You don't have to tell me where it is, but you should have some cash in your house, in your office, somewhere safe. Because when you have a technological blackout, which we have had and we will have.
Oh, AWS will never go down. What are you talking about?
But if you're worth $10 million, $100 million, and all your money's in the bank and you can't get access to it, how much are you worth?
Zero.
Well, exactly. It's like being on an island with no money and no food. It doesn't matter. You're on a beautiful sunny island. You're in bad shape.
Right.
So have cash because that's your currency. People say, what about gold? You got to have gold. The dollar is going to be gone. There's debasement going on. Maybe someday, probably not in our lifetimes. But ultimately, you can't go into Wawa with a gold eagle coin and buy milk and bread and think you're going to get out of there without someone grabbing that coin. Or what are they going to do? Shave off some of the gold and give you change? Not really practical. So cash, safe, have some of that, however much you want. You don't need to have 100,000, but maybe $5,000 or maybe $10,000. Then you need a cushion, like you said, money market, money in the bank. You don't earn much on your money, but you need to be able to have quick access to it. You're right. But if you want to buy a property, a business, invest in private equity or anything, you need to have money. Sometimes having that money quickly is the difference between an opportunity hit or an opportunity missed. So cash available. Other than that, you're a business owner, entrepreneur, athlete, just start saving. Throw money in an index if you want, the S&P, the NASDAQ. There's so many investments out there that cost little to nothing. And yes, they're risky, but if you understand your risk tolerance, another part about getting to know yourself, put that money in. Do dollar cost averaging, which means small amounts on a regular basis. The market's up, you'll buy less shares.
Jab, jab, jab. You don't always have to go for the uppercut.
That's right. If the market's down, everyone thinks, oh my God, I should stop putting in my 401k. No, the best time to buy is when things are down.
When blood is on the street.
Absolutely. Great quote.
So I'll give you one thing that I do, and I do this with my businesses, with my personal. I hate debt. Right. And probably stupidly, because there's a way to smartly leverage debt. I have some loans from a couple of years ago, 288-322, which is unheard of now. Right. But 2020, that's what the rates are. But one thing I do with all my investments, and this is stock, right? You can't do this with private equity. I always take a 50% line of credit against my assets, hopefully to never use it.
Right.
But I always have way more than I need. I have lines of credit on the business and, my home, anytime I get equity. And again, it's nominal, right? Like, our line of credit for the business, it might be $5,000 a year to have it set up. But if you have 7 figures, that helps you out. If a client doesn't pay, you're having a bad day, a slow day. What do you think on that for folks? Should you take a line before you need it?
Yeah, I totally agree. Having a line of credit is huge because again, there's a property, there's an investment. Let's say there's a competing firm with yours that's been a competitor, and all of a sudden they're on the market. And if you grab them up, you might be able to really expand if that's something that's important to you. And having that cash is really valuable. We bought our business building in Cherry Hill like 20 years ago by borrowing money on an asset. We didn't have to disturb the asset. It didn't cost us almost anything. We secured it. We had the cash in hand within 48 hours. The other people that were trying to get the property could not come up with the money that quick. And that's how we got the deal.
Yeah.
So having money, having a line is great. A line is so great because a lot of people think, well, let me keep all this cash liquid in case I need it. Well, now you've got $1 million sitting in the bank. Your opportunity loss is, let's say, 5%. That's 50 grand a year it's costing you. You don't get a bill, but essentially that's what you're paying, the opportunity loss. With a line of credit, you're not paying anything unless you actually use it.
Other than the small, fee to really set up. But same thing here. When I took over this building, this was probably 7-8 years ago. I thought, it was going to be a lot less down payment. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I was wrong in commercial buildings. And if I didn't have those lines established, I wouldn't have been able to strike. And the guy I dealt with was a real pain here. Not the owner, but the building manager.
Right.
I had 30 days due diligence on this whole thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, the 100 grand that I put down, if I didn't have a yes or no after 30 days, it went hard. I was going to lose it. So, again, lines of credit right there saved me.
Yeah.
Talk about assets, though. Why don't you tell everyone what you got there? You got a little bling? Show the bling.
Yeah. So this, the ring I got here, it's what's really cool about it, other than the obvious, is it's a tangible symbol. And I talk about this in the book, that it tells people, and it tells me, reminds me that anything is possible. As a kid who would go to the Sixers games for $7 a ticket where I could barely see the players.
I was going to say, not anymore.
I know. And that's probably like $50 minimum or more.
But that's called parking.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I couldn't even get close to the game as a kid. I love basketball. Just couldn't get close to the floor. Couldn't get close to the players.
You any good at it?
I'm pretty good at it.
I suck.
Yeah. I mean, as I get older, it's not good anymore. But I was.
Well, you're allowed to my buddy, every 10 years when he went 50, 60, 70s, he said by the time he's 70, he's allowed to elbow. So every decade, you got to give yourself a little cheat code.
I got a while for that.
Maybe eye gouge. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, so the idea here with the ring is that it really shows people that anything is possible. And for me, it's a reminder that I've come a long way from where I started. And anyone can do this. The thing about my story versus other stories you hear or read about is I think my story is probably one of the most relatable stories you're going to find. I didn't have this insane situation where I, had 100 million, lost 100 million, or I was a pro athlete or actor or childhood star, right? And those are a whole other arenas. But for me, I was this normal guy, average to below average. And I had these life switch moments and started to realize, you know what? I can control how my life turns out. And that's not different for anyone else. Everyone can control where they are now, right? Wherever that is, that's where you're at. But you can control where you're going. And while you can't control everything, you play the biggest role in your life, like in a movie.
Yep.
Like you are directing, you're writing, you're acting your life. And any good movie doesn't go like this. It has the ups and the downs, and that's life.
It'd be no fun.
Yeah, everyone wants the comeback. They're, the underdogs, right? When the Eagles won years ago, it was all about being the underdog, and everyone loved that.
I didn't. I'm a Patriots fan, but yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that until
Nick
now.
Foles. He earned it, though. You know what, though? I will say this, even though he destroyed my Patriots, if I went to bed that night and I saw Brady's stats,
right,
you would have thought it was a blowout, right?
Yep.
But I do have to say this. It truly made me happy to see Nick Foles, right? Yeah. No one thought they were going to win a playoff game, right? Wentz goes down, all that, but it's true.
Yeah.
So let's switch topics. Book author. What are some of your favorite books? I always say it on here. For me, it was always Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Winning by Tim Grover.
Yeah.
Kobe's coach and Michael Jordan's coach.
Right.
What are books that get you juiced up?
Well, you just mentioned a bunch of them. Relentless by Tim Grover.
Right, Relentless is awesome. Yeah,
phenomenal. I of course read Jordan's book. I've read probably 3 of Jordan's books.
Yep.
But I love the Howard Schultz book. We talked about what he did with Starbucks. It was so game changing.
Oh, yeah.
And I got so inspired by that. So I started reading in college, my junior year. I didn't read like anything at that point. Yep. I had Garfield on my bookshelf. Like that was it. Like that was a joke. I didn't really like to read. I didn't see the benefit of it.
I didn't like to read in college. I hated it. I literally read. I had I call it a layoff, right? When I graduated, I had PCS going, but I was scared, right? I didn't have enough business. So I took a job with the U.S. government, but at the time, I don't know what they do now. The government didn't hire till September.
They don't do anything when they're shut down.
Well, they're shut down now. But they were hiring in September. So I had from June to September. I was scared to death because I never really worked in I call it a corporate environment, federal environment.
Right.
I remember reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I followed the rules. I read each chapter twice before moving to the next. And that's actually how I heard about Think and Grow Rich, because he had suggested a reading list. And honestly, that book made me fall in love with reading. I mean, some years, now kids, I'm lucky if I get 10, 15 books a year. Right. But I was doing 50, 60 books a year.
Yeah, because it gets addicting because you understand that payoff. Like we didn't like to read because it felt like work. When we realize the results that can come from what we learn and take into our lives, it's amazing. So I read Think and Grow Rich pretty early on. I heard about it. I don't remember where. Then I went to Earl Nightingale's Strangest Secret.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
It's phenomenal. And it's so old. And I listened to the audio.
I like the old ones though.
They're timeless.
Yeah.
And it just got me to realize, same thing with Think and Grow Rich. These are things that like, hey, here's an idea. You can accomplish anything. These are guys going back decades with evidence, anecdotal, sometimes actual. And if you say, oh, this is hokey, whatever, no, it's not true, I have work to do, then you're not going to go that far. But if you really open up your mind and you're honest with yourself and you really take this to heart and you understand, like I think what we're saying you and I did, it's amazing what you can do. And real quick story here. I was watching this new Allen Iverson documentary that came out. And he said, when I was 8 years old, my mom told me I can do anything I want to do. And he said, I believed her.
Yeah.
And of course, you know what he did. And he also said this, which was really cool. He said, when I was out on the court, I viewed it that I was Goliath dominating David.
Oh, yeah.
And that was so crazy because everyone else, including all of our local Sixers fans, everybody viewed it as the opposite. Oh, look at this little guy.
Oh, he's string bean.
Yeah, but he didn't view it that way. He saw that he was the dominant Goliath. And all these other guys, 6 foot, 7 foot, they were the Davids. And he was just destroying them. And it was all in his mind.
Well, I met him a few times. Interesting cat. And one of the things he talked about, and he kind of got fired up about it. And then we're going to go to some rapid fire questions, but just to share. So he went on a tirade about how people said he didn't practice. He's like, listen, he's like, I was one of the best basketball players. He goes, at one point in time, I was the number one basketball player on earth. He's like, if you think I didn't practice, like you're out of your mind. Yeah. And he's like, it's a pretty big planet. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. That interview makes me laugh to this day. Anytime someone says the word practice, I instantly think of that conversation. It'll never get old.
So we're going to go a couple rapid fire questions here, right? So I'm going to randomly pick a few that we have. Business hero.
Howard Schultz.
Personal hero.
Got to be my mom.
Your mom, your business partner.
Well, not even. Just she was broke on food stamps, going through a bitter divorce, getting her master's degree, got into financial services. I mean, she put everything.
So that's how you got the financial.
That's how I ultimately got into it, the back doorway. But ultimately, if she didn't do what she did, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
So if this was not your career, what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
I'd go back to something else I'm super passionate about. I'd go back to being a personal trainer, but this time I would help people with their diets. I used to train people 8-hour shifts, 8-hour sessions. I'd be in the bathroom eating a protein bar. There was no break, but I couldn't control what people were doing outside of that hour.
Exactly.
So I'd want to go back and get them from both sides of it, because people really can control how they look and how they feel. And I think personally, if you can take better control of your small space in the world, I think you can have a better impact outside of yourself.
Well, it's also a shame too, right? You look at people, we all judge. I got my trainer. I'm at the gym 4 days a week. And, I feel like, if you're put together physically, the best you can, like I'm not a bodybuilder, but, I stay in shape. But I think people judge, right? It's your first appearance. And that's part of being disciplined. So speaking of discipline, last rapid fire, what's your productivity hack? Since you got the life switch, what's something that you would share with people that, hey, how do I get myself hey, I don't want to get up today and do this, right? We're motivated guys, right? But not every day, right? Some days aren't as good as others. So what's your hack?
You got to find your why. If you know why you're doing something, you're going to blow through that brick wall. If you don't have a reason, you're going to struggle. You're going to just try to hang around that wall and kick it and try to find a soft spot. But when you're passionate about something, you can run through a wall. You can do and accomplish anything you want to do if there's a reason. So when I was building back from being $500,000 in debt when my restaurant failed, my why was my wife and I. I had this vision of a great life. I could see being in the kitchen, white cabinets, sun shining through, kids in the background. I didn't have kids anywhere close to this point, but I saw this vision and I thought, I want that. I'm going after that. But while I had to go through hell to essentially accomplish that, she was the why. And so I didn't really care what I had to do. I knew what I needed to do and I was going to do it.
So I'm going to ask you this. I'm guessing I know the answer. Have you read Start With Why?
Of course.
Yeah, it's a great book. That was actually one of the few books that I think I teared up at the end.
Wow.
Didn't expect like the way the book was going to end and how they did it. I'm not going to ruin it for people that didn't read it, but we actually, in our leadership here, there was 2 books that we would give to our leadership team here. Start with Why, to understand like the PCS culture, because I feel like that's part of it. And the other one, a local guy, Vernon Hill. You ever read Fans, Not Customers?
Actually, I have.
So it's not a super popular book, right? You met it because, when Republic was around, all the grand openings. I joked around. I had Vernon sign the book for, the team here. That book, I got to tell you, it's practically really good. Like regardless, whatever you feel about the business acumen, commerce, Republic, it's a hell of a book. So
yeah, he, again, like you said, there's different thoughts about Vernon, but you cannot deny what he did was incredibly impressive. And he didn't just do it once.
Yep.
He did it here with Commerce. Then he did it across the pond. Then he came back and he did it with Republic. And it's just amazing. But again, his story, Howard Schultz, we're talking about all these things. Simon's book was Start With Why. That's the key for everybody. Start with why you're doing something, right? Why are you doing it? What do you want to do? Then, of course, how. And if you know how to do it, then just go out and friggin' do it.
Exactly. And honestly, this is going to be a great end to the podcast here, because the why here, why I'm doing this, right? I have 25 years of business experience. I've grew up from nothing, right? Bad neighborhood in Philly, grocery bagger at Acme. And I really discovered a lot of ways of entrepreneurship and, met a lot of interesting people, including you today, right? We joked that you're the first person on this podcast that was recommended that we actually haven't met until about 10 minutes prior to filming.
Right.
And, my why is to inspire people just as it appears your why is, keynote speaking, motivating. So let's give a little plug for your book. We'll make sure that we'll put a link so if people can purchase it and things like that. If someone's looking at this podcast and saying, okay, the life switch, what are they going to learn?
They're going to learn how to become the best version of themselves and live the most extraordinary life they can live if they want to. It's going to talk about how you do it, why you do it, and what to do. Everyone will take away different things from this book. Different chapters might be their favorite, but you're going to be 2 things guaranteed. You're going to be entertained with the story of my life and how it's gone, and you're going to be inspired. And ultimately, you're going to do something else, which is the bonus. And that is you're going to be part of a mission to donate $1 million to charity. Because if Life Switch sells 1 million copies, we're off to a good start so far. But if it sells 1 million copies, I'm personally going to donate $1 million to charity. And the readers get to vote on the charities that get the money. So I'm super excited about that.
Love that. We do that actually once a year. By the time this airs, it'll be past, but we do that with the Jersey Man, Philly Man Gala. So there'll be 6 winners.
Nice.
And then when you buy a ticket, you vote for, which winner. And they have a charity selected that they could get $10,000, $5,000 or decide an auction. So I love hearing that. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, anyway, this has been a great episode. I think we bounced around first person with the ring. Brian Dawkins will be coming on. He'll have his ring, but it looks good. And, we'll be back and hopefully you're inspired. Hopefully you learned some things. Joel will have the links to the book and everything else. And, stay tuned. Built to Scale. We got many more great guests like this coming on. And our mission is to inspire, help guide you. And as I always say, if we could change one life, if one person's watching this and you do something great, my mission is served. So thank you so much for Built to Scale here again with Anthony Mongeluzo.